Welcome, everybody, to All About Articulation, where we do a deeper dive into the articulation of some of your favorite action figures while glossing over things like sculpt, paint apps, character history, accessories, because I suck at that, and there are already so many great reviewers on YouTube who can do that already, so I don't want to waste your time. And time is a terrible thing to waste. Today, we're going to review the Medicom Mafex Ben Reilly Spider-Man figure. I'm a little bit late to this, but I like to play around with my figures a little bit first, really get a sense of them, really get to know, especially the articulation, and then do a review. So I'm intentionally a little bit later to the game on a lot of these reviews by design. Having said that, what are my thoughts on this? It's just a beautiful figure. I mean, I'm sure you've seen pictures by now, you've done your research, you heard the other comments from other collectors. If you're in the Facebook groups, the Reddit groups, on Twitter, it's a fantastic figure. It's very, very similar, very akin to the previous Mafex Spider-Man 75 and 108, I believe, with minor sculpt detail changes. Like the upper torso is a little bit more flared out here, and a lot of people complained when they saw the pictures, like, "Oh, that's too much. I don't like the way this looks." And it doesn't bother me, and it certainly does not hinder the articulation. If anything, it probably helps with the articulation. So, who is this for? Spider-Man fans, number one, Marvel fans, comic book fans, obviously Ben Reilly fans, and if you're an artist like me, that's how I kind of got back into collecting after the years. I bought toys as a kid, and then I grew out of it, and I started playing sports, went to college, yada, yada, yada. And I got back into my art. I started drawing and writing my own graphic novel, and I needed, some models. And I went online, went on Amazon, I looked at those blank figure models that HS Figure Arts or some other companies released, and they're like $50 to $70. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's kind of steep. But then I looked at some of these action figures, especially these imports, and the articulation was just as good, if not better. And it's a character that I know and like. So if you're looking also for something to use as a model for your art that can hit multiple and a wide range of articulation points and poses, this is for you too. And let's just get into the articulation. So he's a very solid, it's a very nice feeling figure. It just feels very premium in your hand. Right off the bat, okay, here's his head. Double joints, one at the top of the neck, one at the bottom of the neck. The top of the neck goes up that far, just in isolation. You can see that. I'm gonna hold his neck as still as possible. And you can see that that's how much it moves, just at the top. And then the bottom neck, that's how far it moves. So just in terms of a lot of action figures, that's the total amount of range you get, period. With Mafex, you get with that double point of articulation combined, you get this much. I mean, that's just phenomenal. His chin can almost touch his chest. And looking all the way back, the base of his skull can almost touch the top of his shoulder. So you get great range. And of course, side to side and all around. Okay? The butterfly joints, phenomenal butterfly movement, great range. And I always say I sound like a broken record, but it's not just the points of articulation. A lot of manufacturers like to, advertise 22 points of articulation, 23 points of 24, blah, 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 blah. It's not just the points of articulation, it's the range of articulation. Some figures don't have many points of articulation, but the few that it does have, the range is incredible. This guy has both point and range, and you got the butterfly joint, so that's in isolation, that's how much you can move. Get a close up. And with both of these arms together, utilizing the butterfly joint, he can crisscross his arms with elbows straight. Look at that. He can crisscross his arms that much. So yeah, he could clasp his hands. He could touch his hands for sure. But his elbows could touch. That's insane. That's awesome. Of course, we know the bicep swivel goes all the way around. Double jointed elbows, that's beyond 45. That's like, yeah, please give me a thumbs up. That's beyond 45, right? That's about, I would say, almost 20 degrees. If that's 90, my finger's 90, that's about 45, right? That's 25? I mean, that's just an insane amount of range. What else? Okay, so if I do have a knock, it's that the Ben Reilly's gauntlets, because these are not movable, these are not even adjustable or removable, it does hinder his wrist articulation. So that's about far up as it can go because of those silver gauntlets, and that's as far down as it can go. And likewise, if we were to go side to side from the top view, that's about as far out, and that's about as far in. As opposed to, let's say, here, let me show you, let me bring Jordan back in. Obviously, Jordan, Mafex, Metacom, same company. No gauntlet there, nothing to hinder the articulation. You could bring his hand all the way back. The range of articulation is so much greater and so much more because there's no obstacle and obstruction in the way. And that's my one minor gripe with this Ben Reilly figure, is that those stupid gauntlets just hinder the wrist articulation. But I get it. That's part of his costume design. You can't do anything about that. Although it would have been cool if you could sort of move that a little bit, or if it was, adjustable, you can slide it up a little bit. That would have been cool, you know what I mean? If you just go boop, slide it up, and then you can just move his hands and have more of a, like, for example, he can't really, he can wall crawl, but it's just, that's as far as it can go. Like if you were to wall crawl, Anyway. All right, and let's go to the abdominals. Nice tight abs, double joints, one at the upper, one at the lower. In isolation, that's the top. That's how far back it goes. And in isolation for the bottom, that's how far down it goes. And that's a back extension. It's not a backwards ab crunch for everybody. It's called a back extension. Ab crunch, back extension. So that's the back. That's how far back the extension goes. This is how far forward the crunch goes. And if you combine both joints, it's this much, which is great. It's great range. And the extension with both joints accessed is that much. So you can do a lot of, obviously, Spiderman-y poses and whatnot. All right. The hips, you can do a split that far, which I'm happy with. I think that's a good split. He doesn't need to Van Damme it. And when you use the ankle pivot with it, it's great ankle pivot. That's his Glen Webb, as far down as he can go, with both feet flat on the floor. All right. Double jointed knee, that can go far that far. Basically, his calf can touch his hamstring. Not quite. Yeah, I guess you can. He can kick his own butt, kind of, or at least his lower back, because you access that hip joint to kind of cheat a little bit. So yeah, he could hit just any Spider-Man pose that you need. Just a great figure. Definitely pick it up if you can still get him. Last time I checked, he was going for like, gosh, $150 now. I mean, MSRP is like about $190 to $100. Aftermarket, if you're lucky enough, you can pick them up. If you can get them for like $140, $150, that's probably the going rate right now. Unless you go on eBay, which is even more. Those savages jack up the prices. Oh yeah, did I do the ankle? So that's as far flat he goes. All right, and this is how far up he goes. It's a nice V. That's a great range. And of course, pivot. It's just phenomenal. So that's the Ben Reilly Mafex Ben Reilly figure. Cheap plug. Also, check out my Instagram page. I do. I'm not really good at photography per se, in and of itself, but I do like. I'm a comedy writer also, and I perform comedy. I write comedy, so I like to take my action figure photos, but with sort of like a comedic twist to it. So if you just feel like, scrolling through Instagram and just want a nice little chuckle, nice little laugh to brighten up your day, check out my Instagram page. I'll link it in the description below. And, hopefully it'll brighten up your day, bring a smile to your face. All right? Okay, guys. Thanks.